Theodore Roosevelt once said, "The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who knows the great enthusiasms, the great devotions, and spends himself in a worthy cause, who at best, if he wins, knows the thrills of high achievement, and if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who know neither victory nor defeat."
Welcome back to the Day Before Rehab podcast. I have my friend Bucky here today, who's a great human being. He saw the episode that I did with my sister, and we kind of talked about touching a little bit on some of the trauma that Bucky experienced. We discussed before the Day Before Rehab is my experience, but rehab is just this arbitrary term that has a lot of trauma involved for me. But the goal for this podcast is to also have people on who have similar experiences, not necessarily with rehab, but with trauma. So that's why Bucky's here today. But for starters, I met Bucky, we were just talking about this, July will be 4 years, right? So I met Bucky at a CrossFit gym, CrossFit Raid, great spot. And it was interesting for my wife and me because the gym we went to before for a decade was a bunch of people just like us. Well, not like Megan, more like me.
Yeah.
You walk in, you talk shit, you make fun of people. If you do good in the workout, if you do bad in the workout, the whole gym knows about it. It was rough, and that was my experience. So I walk into CrossFit Raid, and I told you this the other day.
Yeah.
One of the first things that you did to me when we worked out was you took your sweaty fucking shirt off and you threw it at me.
Yeah.
After you might have met me once before that.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, this guy's the fucking thing. That's what I'm used to, that kind of experience.
Yeah.
And you've been nice to me the whole time.
Yeah, thanks.
Easy to talk to. We're friends. I like to consider you my friend. And, this is hard for me to put myself out there. And, when we talked about this, I'm like, yeah, Bucky's the fucking man. So let's do this. So Bucky has some experience with trauma, and that's why I wanted him here today. And, before we get into a whole bunch of things I want to ask you, we kind of touched on it before we started, but what are some of the trauma experiences that you have that kind of led you to even talking to me about doing this podcast?
Yeah. Well, my story isn't really a drugs and alcohol or anything like that story. My story is more of a trauma with relationships, divorce, being married for 16 years, having 2 kids, never cheating or anything like that, being, a loyal husband and a good father. All of a sudden, one day I came home and my ex-wife told me that she wasn't happy and she wanted to get a divorce. Mm-hmm. Rocked my world totally.
You have two young daughters.
My daughters were 16 and 13. Yeah. And they had no idea that anything was going on, and I didn't either. I got along with her family. She got along with my family. We were a solid couple. We did talk a lot about how our relationship would improve when the kids got older. Mm-hmm. In other words, we were just kind of raising our kids. We were into that mode. The kids came first, which is typical most marriages, but we never made time for each other. Mm-hmm. We didn't take trips alone together. We didn't go out to dinner alone together. It was always the 4 of us,
right.
Or even the 4 of us and my mother and father, and maybe even my brother, whatever. It was always like that. So we put each other last. Everybody else came first. My ex-wife was a teacher like I was. We taught in the same school for 30 years.
No shit, I know that.
Yeah. So, we were, our friends were our common friends. She wasn't very social. I was very social. Still kind of am. And she's not still. But so she kind of latched on to all of my friends. Anyway, everything was fine. We were halfway through our teaching careers thinking about retirement, where we're going to live, how wonderful our life's going to be together. And she kind of had a little bit of a nervous breakdown and took a year off from school. And I said, no problem. Stay home, get yourself healthy.
Right.
I'll take care of the daughters. I'll take care of the income. you get yourself healthy. Well,
you guys made it work for the most part.
We made it work, but part of us making it work was she was getting personal training by a guy who then she started having an affair with.
It's like a fucking movie.
It was like a movie, and I had no idea, obviously.
Yeah.
I mean, she would tell me she'd go for walks with one of her friends or whatever, and then that turned out to be the guy that she was with. Anyway, long story, she ended up marrying the guy. After we got divorced, she married the guy. He was very verbally abusive and even physically abusive a little bit. So she got divorced from him. She wanted to get back together with me. But at the time, I was in a relationship with somebody else. And this particular female was living with me, and we were engaged. She was much younger, which was probably a mistake on my part. But, it probably was a rebound relationship for me.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was the real deal. I thought we were soulmates. We were in love.
What a mind fuck, right? Like, she kind of rips the rug right out from under you.
Yeah, for sure.
And then X amount of years later, once you get back together, now you're already committed to somebody else. So you probably at that point, like, you really enjoyed this person.
Oh, 100%.
But then when your ex-wife reaches back out to you, someone you have a history with, a family with, like that had to be a little tricky.
The joke is now my ex-wife and we're friends now. We get along very well. That. And she has a fantastic boyfriend now who I think the world of. And I mean I would be friends with him no matter what. He's that kind of a guy. Mm-hmm. But when my ex-wife wanted to get back with me, the joke was I said to her, I will always love you. You're the mother of our daughters. I said, my parents will always love you like a daughter. I said, we're always here for you. Because she was claiming when she got divorced that she had no one in her life. She had nowhere to turn. And I was saying, that's not true. You have us. Mm-hmm. You have my parents. You have our daughters. And she said, I want to get back with you. And I said, well, we can get back together as friends, but I never want to see you naked again.
No shit.
And my wife's very attractive. I mean, so most guys would like to see her naked. And I'm like, I don't ever want to see you naked again. Like that romantic feeling was gone.
Well, it's gone because she took it from you.
Absolutely. The cheating stuff is, I mean, that was not prevalent like in my family anywhere, that kind of stuff. And when she was doing that, like I said, I begged her to stay. I begged to get her back. My self-esteem at the time was an all-time low because of, my ex-wife cheating. Yeah. So you think it's me, I'm the problem. What did I do? So my self-esteem took a nosedive. And then when she wanted to get back, that made me feel a little bit better, obviously.
Well, it's like the balance of power shifted.
Absolutely.
And that's a real thing.
Oh, absolutely.
When they control, and this is, I'm not just saying this is for men and women, it's in all relationships. She left you and the balance of power just totally was off kilter. So there was probably a good feeling involved with like she wants to get back.
Oh, no doubt about it.
I have a little bit of control of the situation.
And many times you hope someone apologizes to you if they do something wrong to you. Mm-hmm. And many times you don't get that apology.
Yes.
And I probably would have never gotten that apology if she had stayed married to this guy because we weren't even talking at the time. Mm-hmm. He wanted nothing to do with me or our daughters, believe it or not. Yeah. And so that was strange too. Like, how could she marry the guy who wants nothing to do with our daughters? Yeah. Anyway, but yeah, the balance of power for sure. So I got that from her. I got the apology, what I was looking for, what I wanted, but it still doesn't make things right. It doesn't make things right. It doesn't make you forget what happened or how you felt, that kind of thing. So then I get a relationship with a young girl. I fell madly in love. She moves in right away. My daughters, of course, weren't happy about it. I was trying to manage making them happy, making her happy, making my parents happy with my decisions and things like that. Mm-hmm. So I was my head was spinning. I caught pneumonia twice. This is kind of off topic a little bit, but I caught pneumonia twice. And I was sick a lot during this time. And my mother said to me, I know what's going on inside of you. You're
constant turmoil,
constant stress, constant, you're just trying to make everybody happy, but you don't feel good about yourself.
See, it's so funny. Like you saying that is the same exact experience for me. Getting 2-3 days sober here, a week there, and you're constantly just off.
Yes.
And when you're constantly off inside, yes, I'm sick all the time. I'm being a little baby. I'm miserable. I'm depressed. So like, it's so funny how we can feel the same exact way. One being drug induced and one, dealing with life. Yeah. It's interesting.
Looking back on things, like I thought I was perfectly fine. Mm. I thought, okay, I'm engaged to this girl. I love her. She loves me. My daughters are going to be fine. Like, life is wonderful. I kind of convinced myself of that.
Yeah.
But inside there was some turmoil going on. I couldn't quite put my finger on what it was. And looking back, I never grieved my divorce. I never took the time to get over what she did. I thought that finding somebody else was the answer.
Right.
And for me, like, I spent a lot of years like looking for someone else to make me feel better. And the reason why I'm doing this right here a little bit is because recently, like, I've just kind of discovered, like, it's not about anybody else. It's about you. And you've got to work on yourself. Like you with your sobriety. I mean, that's your job. Ain't nobody else going to do that for you, you know? Like, that's what you need to do for your sake. And for me, like, I've had to do a lot of work, even just recently, over, like, getting over the past, forgiving myself for things that I did that I wasn't real proud of at the time and stuff like that. So it's been a journey. And even putting myself out there doing something like this is part of the journey.
No, I agree. I mean, like, one of the things I learned in treatment this time, I went to treatment 3 times. This last time, I stayed for the whole 28 days. And one of the things they would beat you over the head with is the opposite of addiction is connection. Yeah. And I feel it's important to say that right now, because just having this conversation, you know, we're not going to say you're going to have some sort of breakthrough, or myself either, but just connecting with another human being, in my opinion, about the things that, whether they haunt you, or whether you're dealing with, or whether you have to get through them, it helps. Even if it's just for a day.
100%.
You know what I mean? Like, because every 24 hours is different.
Right. Absolutely.
It's right. So
you mentioned that factor. I can tell in the morning, when I wake up in the morning, I can tell if I'm going to have a good day or not a good day. I can tell.
And that's the crazy part.
I can tell. And it's my emotions are still, like, I still struggle. Like, I don't think a lot of people know this, but I struggle with depression. I struggle with anxiety. Over the years, I've had medication for stuff like that. I don't take any medication now for it. I'm not against medication. It was wonderful to me. I just didn't like the way I felt a lot of times on it, but I needed it at the time. You know, that was something that I needed to do.
So not being on medication now, like, I mean, I see you at the gym all the time, and we were just joking around, like, the gym is just a fraction of your life, of our lives. You know, we see each other, you know, maybe 4 or 5 hours total for the week. But there's obviously a lot that goes on before, during, and after the gym. So what do you do? What's something that you do daily? Like, if you wake up tomorrow and you say, man, today's not going to be a good day. I know this. Which is already a mind fuck. That your mind is playing on you. So what do you do on those days?
Well, with a lot of help from a therapist, believe it or not, and I you know, there were times I would never have admitted that to anyone, you know, but from a therapist help, I do things daily. Like, it sounds so silly and sounds so stupid, but it works, and it's the truth. Like, the therapist told me, you got to breathe. Like, what do you mean breathe? And, like, he taught me how to take these breaths and stuff like that. And you think, that's stupid. I'm not going to, like, that's not going to fix anything. But it helps. It really does. So for me, when I get up in the morning, first thing I do is I cold plunge every morning. And I like, I don't think the cold plunging is the answer to everything. Don't get me wrong. But I do it because I'm like, I don't feel like doing it.
Right.
And I force myself, without even thinking about it much, I just get the hell in the cold plunge.
It's so great that you said that, because I was just listening to Tony Robbins was on Theo Vaughn.
Yeah, certainly.
And he says, you have to train yourself to stop negotiating with your mind.
Yes.
Right? Like, you wake up, you're like, this is going to be fucking terrible. I don't want to do this. And you smash that thought and you do it anyway.
Absolutely.
And that's at least one part of the day that you control, that you're going to win, and then what?
I'll be 60 years old in June.
Which is amazing. Right? So, side note is, before Bucky got his shoulder replaced, he would beat my ass regularly.
Wait, rotator cuff surgery. Shoulder replaced. Okay.
Shoulder, so rotator cuff. He would routinely kick my ass in workouts at, 58, 59, 60, and I just turned 40, so it's like, fuck you, Buck.
Oh, that's not true. It's true.
So, okay, cold plunge, right?
Yeah, so, and for me, it's like, for most of my life, I've been a procrastinator. Like, academics in school, when I was in college, when I was in high school, whatever, push things off to the last minute. Even at 35 years as a teacher, I still would push things off to the last minute, And I would talk to the kids about not doing that, but I still did it. So for me, like, I don't procrastinate anymore. Like, if I have something to get done, boom, I get it done. I don't think about it.
Right.
So the cold plunge is part of my daily routine. And every time I get out of cold plunge, I feel like I've accomplished something.
Yeah.
And it has nothing to do with the cold water. It has everything to do with the fact that I didn't want to do it.
Right.
And it would have been very easy not to do it.
You could justify that in a heartbeat.
Hell yeah. Or I'll do it later. I'll do it this afternoon. I'll do it tonight, whatever. But I don't do that. I get in the cold plunge. So then I got a cold plunge. And now that I'm retired, I have a lot more free time on my hands.
Sure.
So I get out of the cold plunge, and I usually go for like an hour walk.
Okay.
And I listen to podcasts or listen to music, whatever I'm in the mood for, you know. And sometimes just uplifting podcasts and sometimes just depressing podcasts, depending on my mood. And I've learned to kind of accept my moods. Like if I'm in a down, crying kind of day, you know, fuck it, just go with it.
Yeah.
You know, because tomorrow's going to be a new day.
But, so funny you say that, right? So I heard a guy yesterday say, and I never thought about it this way. Yesterday was crappy. It was raining all day.
Yeah.
And this guy didn't have the world by the balls at all. He was someone that is struggling in life. And what he said was, as he's struggling in life, like, it's not fucking miserable out. It's just raining.
Yeah.
And I'm like, holy shit.
Yeah.
That perception was like from this particular guy who, you know, all scorecards are reading 0. And he said that. I'm like, man, that's your perception, right?
Well, talk about perception and attitudes. New guy at the gym, Raphael.
Oh, yeah, he's a beast.
I didn't know him that well, right? So we're talking one day, and he just got my shoulder.
Yeah.
And I'm telling him, I'm just negative about my shoulder.
Yeah.
And he tells me, he goes, it's all about your positive mindset.
Sure.
He goes, you're going to heal. You're going to get better every single day. He said, so instead of looking at what you can't do, look at what you can do.
Right.
I'm like, who is this guy?
Yeah, right.
Like, so I tell him all the time. I say every night, another thing I do, I journal every night. So when I'm journaling at night, I always write down positive mindset, quotation marks. I put Raph. We call him Raph.
Yeah,
so I put Raph next to that.
Yeah.
And then every time I see him, I go, dude, I did it again every day. Positive mindset. So that has been like, it's not just rain. The plants need water.
Right.
Grass needs water.
Perception.
You know, and the trees need this to get out of the winter and springtime. Yeah. So it's all perception. You're exactly right. And trust me, I'm not perfect at it. But I struggle with that a lot. But just the fact that I know that I have to change my mindset sometimes is key.
And that's why I think, like, for you, with the cold plunge and the journaling and the hour walks, those things, you know, for me are slightly different, but it takes you out of yourself for a minute.
Absolutely.
You're not thinking about what's going on in between your ears, and whether it's 5 minutes in the cold plunge, hour walk, journaling at night, like those 3 things right there help you to not focus on whatever negativity is going on
100%.
in between your ears. That's huge.
I mean, like you, I when I start thinking negatively, I can go right down in that black hole, man.
Yeah.
And what I used to do is I would spend days in that black hole.
Yep.
And my lifelong friends would know. If they didn't hear from me for a few days, oh, it's Bucky. He's going through it again. You know, we'll hear from him when he emerges. Right. And it wasn't like I was depressed or I couldn't get out of bed or anything like that. But I would get depressed and I'd get overwhelmed with where I don't want to see anybody. I don't want to talk to anybody. Everything's kind of overwhelming. And what I've learned is, like, you know, you got to kind of plow through that a little bit, you know, and you got to get yourself out of that black hole. Life is short, you know, and I mean, I don't know if we'll talk about this or not, but I spent the last 6 months of my father's life in a nursing home. I went over there every day and spent the whole day, most of the day with him. And I watched him deteriorate. And we had major talks during that time, because I've had some issues with him over the years. I had a lot of healing conversations with him. But you realize life is short. Because, I mean, he died at 81, and you realize, like, holy shit, like those 80 years for him, they go by like that. So for me becoming 60, it's like, holy shit, you know, how many more years do I have? And in reality, you know, 20, you know, in reality. So, like, you better try to make the best of it if you can. And the trauma and stuff like that, you got to deal with it. And you got to do it. If you go to therapy, you got to do what the therapist says. You with your recovery stuff, you go to meeting stuff, you're following that.
Yeah.
You don't go to a meeting and then come out and fuck it.
Right.
You know, you go there because you want to get better. You don't want to just kind of go through the motions.
Right. There's certain things that I do that I don't want to do every day You know what I mean? To not think about Anthony, to not think about what's going on, to not think about the pressure of school, of this job, of whatever, the gym, of my marriage, of my daughter, of these animals. It's just like, if you do these things, it's almost like a checklist for me.
Yeah.
You know, I do a couple things in the morning. I respond to a couple things. You know what I mean? I do my schoolwork. Then I go to work. And at the end of the day, I'm like, I don't want to go to the gym at all.
Right.
But I know no matter what, if I go, I'll feel a little better than I did before I got there. Right. And then I do something for my recovery, and that's my day.
It's like the difference between motivation and discipline. Like
discipline is huge.
Discipline
Motivation goes away.
It's discipline. Exactly right. That's what getting in a cold plunge. Discipline. Going to the gym every day. Discipline. Because I walk in that gym. How many times I pull up in that gym and sit in my car for 5 minutes and go, I don't want to go in there. I don't want to do this. Yeah. And then you do it. You know, like you don't. In the past, like 5 years ago, 6 years ago, whatever, I might put that car in reverse and go to hell home.
Yeah,
I've done that. Oh, I'm listening to my body.
Bullshit.
I'm listening to my brain saying I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
Well, then you have to train your brain. You know, you got to train your brain to like be disciplined. I'm going to do it. We're doing a ski challenge.
Yeah, it's terrible.
you and I and two other people are doing a ski challenge. And we have to ski a certain amount of meters every day, basically, and we don't want to do it.
Well, it's like it's a month-long goal to ski 100,000 meters. Whether or not it's stupid or fun or whatever, it's a goal that we made.
Right.
And the point of making a goal is doing the little things to accomplish the goal.
Absolutely.
Right? And that goes part of what you just said, training your mind. So it's funny. I'm reading this book. Well, I'm in school, so I don't have much time to read, but when I do find time, I try to read something for leisure.
Sure.
So leisure. It's called the dialogic process. Right?
That sounds fun.
But it's crazy because I'm just getting into it. And the point of the book is how we are conditioned in the professional world, but also translates to your personal life, to have responses to certain things. You're conditioned to feed into, say, if you were really negative, right? And I had a conditioned response to feed into your negativity. Now, in turn, I'm going to become more negative.
Right.
And how that can kind of infect a workplace.
Right.
But you take those same aspects into your personal life, and but it just goes into that thinking, right? Positive people stay around positive
Absolutely.
people.
Absolutely.
Take a look at your 5 closest friends, and they can say what kind of person you are. All that shit, like, I had that bottled down for so long because of, drugs and alcohol. And now it's like I joke around, like I can finally see the world again.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So so it's important. The discipline's important.
Yeah.
Like I had a conversation with my daughter recently. I'm trying to get her back into the gym, and she called me. I'm at work, and she's like, "Hey, I'm thinking about going to the gym. I'm worried that they're going to judge me. Do you think they're going to judge me?" And I'm very blunt with my daughter. I wasn't trying to be mean, but I said, they're absolutely going to judge you. I'm like, they're judging the strongest dude in there. They're judging the weakest person in there. That's what people do.
Yes.
And it's that judgment that is inevitable. Your response to that judgment is what matters.
Yep.
That is what's huge.
Yep.
And like for me personally, like you do this podcast, your friends, your family, people that know you a little bit, people that know you a lot, now they know everything. And it's not my job right now to explain to people every day why I'm doing the podcast. It's helping me, and that's what matters.
Yeah.
It's making my marriage better.
Yeah.
That's what matters. But the judgment that people have is never going to go away. I judge people. It's just like this inherent thing that happens.
Of course.
But the difference now is I'm more aware.
Yeah.
I'm more aware, and I'm sometimes even so aware that I can kind of crush the thought.
Yeah.
But it happens.
Yeah.
Right? You're out and about, you see certain things, you're like, what did I just see? Like, and it's crazy. But that's why this is important that we talk about this a little bit. Putting yourself out there, you're going to get judged.
For sure.
Absolutely. But one thing that I have learned, and I'm trying to like resonate in my life, is like people's opinions of you don't fucking matter.
That's right.
If you feel good about you,
that's right.
It doesn't matter.
You don't want to be an asshole. You don't want to treat people poorly.
Of course.
You don't want to. You don't want to act like you're above people. But ultimately, you have to do what makes you happy.
Yeah.
And you don't want to be selfish either. You want to, you want to care about other people. You want to give. Mm-hmm. But you have to do what makes you feel good. Mm-hmm. And even something like this, like for me, like I would do everything possibly that I could do to hide this kind of stuff years ago.
Right.
And as I've grown and matured and been through things and taken time to think about the past and think about what mistakes I made and think about like, is this how, do I want to continue, like being this traumatized mess? Like, no, like you have to start doing things for yourself to make you happy. And that's why even like doing this, if people judge for, I'm not here to get all kinds of attention. I hope no one says one word to me about this when it's all said and done, But like, I'm doing this, and I hate to be selfish, but this is for me.
Yeah.
Sharing my story, talking about it. I'm not better than anybody else. I'm not worse than anybody else. Everybody has their own
Well, I
stories.
think anyone that knows the real you would clearly know that that's the case.
I hope so. But there's people that don't like me. I mean, I'm sure there's people that don't like me.
Oh,
people
for sure. Same with me, of course.
Well, what are you gonna do?
See, I was just talking to, it might have been you or somebody else at the gym yesterday. Like, I love talking shit.
Yes.
But I'm not malicious at all.
100%.
You know what I mean? Like, the guy today at the gym, he beat me in the workout, and I'm like, motherfucker, I'll put a picture of you. Yeah, I'll put a picture of you on my wall, and I'm gonna fuck you up next week. But like, it's just messing around. You know what I mean? Don't get me wrong. Like, there are people that I don't like.
Yeah.
That, you just keep your opinions to yourself.
Of course.
One of the things that is interesting to me is like, everyone has an opinion on how they think you should feel.
Yeah.
Like you in general, like in my life, people think like, well, he should feel this way. He should do this. Why is he doing that? And it's like, it's hard to contend with that because you want people to like you. It's natural. But it's unfair that people just put these expectations on you. And a buddy of mine used to say, expectations are the biggest thief of happiness. Right?
Good one.
It kind of goes back to, what people think of me is none of my business. But at the same time, when people think negatively of you, it hurts.
Of course.
It hurts.
Of course.
It hurts.
Of course. Yeah, no one wants to walk around knowing that this person doesn't like me, that person doesn't like me. Or
I'm a human.
Yeah, you're human. Exactly right. Yeah. But ultimately, and I just kind of learned this the last 6 months actually with my father, ultimately when it's all said and done, the people that are going to be there that really care about you, your family, your loved ones, a few close friends, like I have a million acquaintances, but I have a small number of close friends.
Yeah.
And I'm proud to say that those close friends have been stuck by my side through thick and thin, no matter what. Here's a funny story for you. When I got married, one of my buddies, my ex-wife was married when I met her.
Okay.
So I'll just leave it at that. One of my buddies said, "What are you doing? Like, she's not good for you. Stop." Well, I was head over heels. I thought she was Barbie. She thought I was Ken. So, we were the talk of Council Rock School District.
Right. Everything outside of that was noise. Didn't matter.
It didn't matter, right.
Yeah.
So there's one buddy of mine who I actually lived with at the time, and he was probably my first friend to ever meet her.
Okay.
He's like, she's beautiful, but what are you doing? Like, she's married. Like, what are you doing? And it didn't matter. I was 24 years old. Whatever. So I forget where I was going at this point. So when I was going through my divorce, the first person I told was this same buddy of mine who told me 16 years earlier, "What are you doing?" So I call him up and I say, his name's Pat. I said, "Pat," "Kathy and I are getting divorced." His response was, "About fucking time." He said, you haven't been happy with her
for a long time.
Forever.
Yeah.
He goes, you love your family, you love your daughters, you love the fact that, you have 2 incomes, you have a sure house, you have all that stuff, but you haven't been happy with her. So he said, finally, about fucking time. He said, now let's go. Let's start living life.
Yeah.
And he was like, don't look for other females. Don't look for somebody else to make you happy. You need to make yourself happy. Let's go.
So if you were so unhappy before, I want to tell you something. If you were, and obviously,
you mean during marriage, you mean?
During marriage, right?
Yeah.
And kind of like the culminating factor was the cheating.
Sure. Sure.
Do you think fear had anything to do with why you didn't make a move?
100%. 100%.
Fear runs my life.
100%.
Runs my life.
Yes.
So isn't that crazy? Like you weren't happy.
Yeah.
You were willing to just stay unhappy.
100%.
It's like, so I read this book, which I told you about before. The obstacle is the way. Now, although your wife cheated,
Ryan Holiday.
It's tattooing my arm.
Yeah, I got it. Yeah.
The obstacle is the way.
Yeah.
So instead of using that as a negative, which is almost impossible, you take some positives, a silver lining out of it. Like, she cheated, but I was fucking miserable anyway.
Yeah.
So That's a good. In my mind, like that's the draw from it is the positive.
The fear of being alone, though, the fear of not having a partner, the fear of like, holy shit, what are people going to think?
Mm-hmm.
That was huge for me.
I'm sure.
Huge. And I was devastated by. I mean, no one in my family had been divorced. Now, not everyone was happily married, but they weren't getting divorced. It just wasn't something they did. Yeah, one of the things I'm not proud of is even when she was, after I found out about the affair, which, by the way, I had friends of mine who told me about the affair because they loved me and cared about me. And I actually didn't believe them. I actually told them they were, why are you doing this? Why are you saying these things? I believed her. I took her side because I didn't want to believe my friends. I wanted to believe her. But then things happened and I found out for sure that she was having an affair. One of the things I'm not proud of is I always still begged her to stay, even after the affair. And looking back on it, like no one deserves that. Someone cheats on you and is unfaithful, whatever. It's hard to get over that. But I was, for my family, for my daughter's sake, and for the embarrassment and the fear of being alone, I begged her to stay.
Well, your whole entire system was shattered.
Absolutely.
Maybe not in an instant, but the pieces were coming together, whether or not you wanted to believe them, when you finally come to the realization, like, this is happening to me. Your whole world gets shattered.
Absolutely.
I can't, and I only know the other side of that with parents that has happened to. So, and I know kind of my mom's experience, but with you, I got to imagine, like, you got these two young daughters, or, I think they're both heavily involved in sports.
Yes.
Your whole system at home is geared on their well-being.
Yes.
And now, boom, that's over.
Yes.
That's got to be traumatizing.
Yes.
Like, at the highest level.
Yeah. And at the time, I was more concerned with them than myself. Because for me, I think I was in like shock. I think I was in kind of like denial. I didn't really like accept that it happened. I was kind of like just worrying about my daughters. And then I had anger. Of course, I was very angry.
All the stages of grief.
Oh, all those. Seriously, all those. Like
all the stages of loss. Yeah.
Oh, dude, I wanted to burn her house down for crying out loud. Like I was extremely angry. How could she do this? But I was concerned with my daughters. And then I quickly get into another relationship.
So, wait, how long were you married for?
16 years.
16 years. How quickly did you get into a relationship?
With the
next girl.
With the next girl?
Yeah.
So the divorce, my ex-wife moved out of the house in June. I met this girl in September. We taught together at the same school also. I never even noticed her because I just wasn't, I was married before that.
You were already conditioned to another person.
Yeah.
Programmed to be with one
absolutely.
person.
So there was this young girl that taught 2 doors down from me. I didn't even know her name for like 8 months. And I'm not proud to say that, but I walked by her every day in the hallway and said, hi. And she said, hi.
Well, that's because you were a good husband.
Absolutely. I wasn't even like interested in her. Yeah. It wasn't even part of my world. Okay. So then the divorce happens. And here's a funny story. So I called this girl. Her name was Laura. I walked down the hall. I said, hey, Beth. And she would just say, hey. And about 9 months go by. So the end of the school year, May comes, and she says she had a bad day one day. She goes, by the way, my name isn't fucking Beth. It's Laura.
Jerk off.
And I felt so bad about that. I went to Hallmark and bought her an apology card. And I wrote an apology on the card about how, you didn't deserve, you like that wasn't right of me, like to not even know your name. Like I'm embarrassed that I did that. And I said, however, like, I'm going through divorce, I made all these excuses and stuff. So she said to me, do you want to get a drink after school? And I said, sure. She goes, you can buy me a drink to make up for it. I didn't think anything of it. As I'm driving, I go home, I get showered, I go meet her at the bar for a drink. And I'm saying to myself, this isn't good. I shouldn't do this. She's 20 years younger than me. We teach in the same building. I can't go through this again. This is stupid of me to do.
Right. And you feel it in your gut.
I felt it in my gut.
Your intuition's off.
I almost turned around and went,
going against everything that you know you should do.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I followed through with it. I met her, and she told me the same thing. She felt the same way I did. She's driving there going, this is stupid. He's too old for me. I shouldn't be doing this. Why am I doing this? Well, we meet the bar, and that moment we just like kind of fell in love right then and there. So a month later, she moves in with me.
Oh my God.
A month later. No one's happy about it. My parents aren't happy. Her parents aren't happy. My daughters aren't happy. The only two people happy about it are me and her. You know, so she moves in. Everything was great. I mean, relationship was going very, very well. My daughters weren't happy, but I always thought that they would come around.
Well, seeing that you're happy, maybe they
seeing that I'm happy, but they were too young. They weren't concerned with my happiness. They were
same. I know that feeling.
Yeah.
I remember my parent or my family would joke around because I would call my stepdad that guy Tom.
Yeah.
For like 10 years. Like, I don't give a fuck about Tom. Like, that guy Tom? Yeah, all right, whatever.
Yeah.
So I get it.
So my daughters would like ignore her around the house a lot, and I would beg them not to ignore her, and they would say, "Dad, we're not being mean. We're just not. We don't want to be friends with her. We don't want to talk to her." I go, well, you know, when you're ignoring someone, that's a form of bullying. You know, that's kind of mean.
Absolutely.
Like, you don't think it's mean, but you're being mean. Yeah. You're ignoring somebody, you're being mean, you know. Anyway, one thing leads to another. The younger girl said to me, calm down. Just leave them alone. They'll come around in time. And I was not going to wait for that. I tried to force them to like her. So I was causing, you know, kind of stress in the house with that kind of stuff.
Well, it's crazy too, because you think about it, like, you got through the divorce, and now you have your family that you need to make sure they're okay. You want to be okay. Whose feelings and emotions are more important? Yours, your kids? You're trying to do all this at once.
Yeah.
And then while at the same time make the new girl happy.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
And it's easy for everybody else to say, she shouldn't live with you, or why are you doing this? Or she's too young, or your daughters aren't ready. But you're broken. Like, I was broken from what my ex-wife did. I was broken. Yeah. So that made me feel better. So I almost didn't care what anybody else thought. I just knew that she made me feel better. She loved me. She couldn't keep her hands off me. It was everything I needed at the time. Yeah. Long story short, we get engaged. Planning a wedding. Her family has no money, but she wanted a big wedding. And her family wanted her to have a big wedding, but they had no money. So the father said to me one time, you're paying for the wedding. And I said, I have two daughters. I said, one's got a college scholarship already for softball. I said, so I'm not paying for her. I said, but the other one I'm paying for. I said, so I am not going to spend my money on my wedding when my daughter needs money for college.
Makes sense?
Makes sense. Yeah. So anyway, the girl said to me, I don't need a wedding. I'll marry you anywhere. We can elope. We can do whatever. So I was all for that. The particular girl's mother had a meltdown. My daughter's having a wedding. My daughter's not eloping. If you do this, Laura, I'll never talk to you again. So Laura came back to me and said, you know, I can't elope. I need to have a wedding. I can't go against my parents. She's a young girl, you know. So she said, I can't go against my parents. Long story short, so we end up not getting married. And, you know, she started taking some college courses with people her own age, truthfully. And she met some girls that she became good friends with. They'd go out drinking and stuff like that. I'm sitting home waiting for her to come home. And she met a guy. And the next thing you know, she tells me she doesn't want to live here anymore. She's moving out. So that's when the real trauma hit. That's when I'm like, holy shit. Like, I'm losing this one. What's wrong with me? Yeah. And I made a bad choice. There were two bad choices that I made, you know? So it was my kind of mistake for choosing these people who probably weren't the right ones for me. Well,
your sole, and I can only relate this to drugs and alcohol, your sole purpose at the time was to feel better.
Absolutely.
Right? Instead of working on Bucky.
Yes.
Instead of working on Anthony.
Yes.
Right?
That's hard. That's hard.
Why do I want to look in the mirror and work on myself when I could just take the easy route?
Right.
Like, it probably wasn't challenging to meet this person for you. And it's the vicious cycle for me. I totally get it. Like, I'm not going to do the hard things. I'm going to do the easy things.
Yeah.
And the easy things are to drink and do drugs, so I don't have to feel anything.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying we had the same experience, but instead of dealing with the problems in between your ears, I'm just going to hang out with this girl and feel better.
Absolutely.
You know, what do they call that? Like short-term gratification, instant gratification.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
So that ends.
So that was extremely traumatic. I mean, when she moved out.
Because now you're by yourself again.
I'm by myself again. My daughters are old enough now. My oldest one was in college, and my youngest one was getting ready to go to college. I'm thinking, I am really going to be alone. You know, like I'm living in this big house, and I'm going to be alone. My ex-wife's with somebody else. My fiance's with somebody else. And I'm sitting there, holy shit. You know, like, I got nothing. And at the time, you'd think that I need to have something to make me feel better.
Yeah.
And instead of working on myself, which people told me, take some time, work on yourself, go to therapy, go to divorce support groups and things like that, which by the way, I went to a divorce support group. It was all females and myself. And
who did you sleep with them?
Okay. Number one rule of the divorce support group. Number one rule.
Right.
First day you're there. Like first day you go to AA, they probably tell you the first rule, you can't drink, right?
Yeah.
So I go to divorce support group. The first thing they tell me is no one in this group is allowed to date anybody else in this group. Like this group is sacred. Mm-hmm. So I'm sitting there going, oh hell no. I'm going to date that one and that one and that one. And I did.
Well, because you're worried about yourself again.
I worried about myself. So I would go there once a week, just couldn't wait to talk to these girls.
Now, I'm certainly not coming at you.
No, go ahead.
But I'm a selfish son of a bitch when I'm not sober. And it's all about me. It's all about how can I feel better.
Yeah.
I don't care if my wife's sad.
Yeah.
I don't care if my daughter's not talking to me. So I think it's safe to say that you were selfishly
100%.
You were just being a selfish motherfucker.
100%.
And it's hard to process in the moment.
Yes.
Because you don't understand.
No.
I need to feel better.
Yeah.
Who are you to tell me I'm being selfish? I'm sad.
Yeah.
So
and maybe that female is my soulmate.
This is the one.
This is the one.
This is the one.
Yeah, for sure.
So when you kind of side note, when people, I hear joke about this all the time. When you first get sober and you're single, now I've tried to get sober single before. Obviously, I'm married now.
Yeah.
You see a chick at Wawa or the mall, you don't even say hello to her, and you're already thinking about what you're naming your kids.
Yeah.
Fucking insane, dude.
Yes,
Take a breath, brother.
100%.
So
100%.
It's funny how we can relate two totally different avenues, but they all end in the same spot.
100%.
Selfish motherfucker.
Yeah. So funny little story. I went to divorce support group twice because the first time I loved it so much because I met these women.
Yeah.
I signed up again. And I went there again with the same intention. Well, the person who ran the divorce support group asked me to go hiking with her, overnight hiking trips. So what do you think I did? I'm going hiking, overnight hiking trips with the person running the group, and I'm sleeping with her.
Yeah.
So, how screwed up is that?
Well, you're telling the story, right? And I think here's the funny part about it. Because with sobriety, you can tell the most horrific stories with a smile on your face and laugh.
Yeah.
Because you're on the other side.
Yeah, exactly.
You personally, me,
Yes.
you're on the other side.
Yes.
You kind of, the trauma never goes away. The visceral pain and reaction may have went away, but the memories attached, they're never going to go away.
For sure.
That's how I look at life. I can't erase the things that I did, but at least there's no visceral reaction to them right now. I'm able to put some distance between those things.
For sure.
Do you feel that? Have you been able to do that?
100%. But I got to tell you, it's only been the last year and a half or so that I've actually been able to do that.
Yeah.
Because I up until a year and a half ago, I was searching for females to make me feel better, and I made some bad choices. For years, I made bad choices with just trying to get someone to make me feel better, instead of worrying about take some time, work on yourself to make yourself someone that people want to be with.
At least at this point, to me, it seems like you've kind of been able to put the pieces together and realize that the searching for things that are not within your control is very fucking damaging.
It's not the answer.
It's not the answer. It's almost like in this search, you're doing more self-harm.
Yeah.
And that was my experience.
Yeah, for sure.
Is that something you could...
100%. Because when you're looking for somebody else to make you happy, you're giving all your power to them.
Yeah.
You're giving them the power to and I'm still a little bit guilty of that. If someone gives me a compliment, you feel sky high, If someone puts you down a little bit, you feel super low. Instead of kind of having your confidence come from within and not worrying so much about what other people think. But I still struggle with that, for sure.
So there's this dichotomy in life. There's this yin and yang. Clearly, me knowing you seem like you're okay with yourself. Right? You're very confident, in my opinion. You're really strong. You're in great shape. You had a successful career. But at the same time, you are human, and you do enjoy the companion of another.
Of course.
So it's almost like the balance of searching for that until it becomes a detriment. What's that the point of diminishing returns?
Yeah.
Right? Or do you think you're able to recognize that more today than before? I mean, it sounds like it's just going to be a struggle that you have to figure out. Same with sobriety.
Yeah.
It's a daily process.
Yeah, for sure.
It's a daily journey.
For sure.
Or a daily journey.
For sure. I think recognizing it is the first key. Like recognizing when you're looking for somebody else to make you feel better, or recognizing when you're, oh my God, I have to have somebody. Mm-hmm. And it does. It's hard. It takes a lot of work and a lot of effort to kind of like say, no, like I don't need anybody in a sense. Mm-hmm. Like my self-worth should come from me. And, but it's hard. It's a struggle.
It's a struggle.
It's a struggle. And, we haven't mentioned at all about our, experiences growing up with families.
Yeah.
With
how they weigh on you, how they shape you.
Yeah, for sure.
Unknowingly shapes the person
for sure.
you are.
For sure. I mean, we all of us, our parents, there's good sides and bad sides, mm-hmm. And they've done things that have been beneficial to us and helpful to us, and things that haven't been. Right. I mean, my biggest struggle was, my parents loved us tremendously. And I knew that, but they didn't say the words a whole lot. And one of the things that I would have appreciated over the years was them saying, proud of you or love you. I'm talking, from youth all the way up.
Yeah.
There wasn't a lot of that. There was a lot of things that they did to show us that they cared, but there wasn't a lot of the verbal words. And my brother and sister, they seemed like they were fine. They didn't need that. But for me, like, I think that would have been something that would have definitely helped my self-esteem growing up. And so I think that's part of the struggle as well. We're products of our environment, but the therapist that I go to is great. And he'll say to me, when you turn 18, it's your job to fix what the damage has been done, like when you're younger.
Right.
Now, my damage wasn't that severe. I'm not complaining. My parents didn't tell me they loved me enough. They were there. They were wonderful. But even the kids that are abused and stuff like that, once you become a certain age, dude, it's your job. Like, you need to fix that. You need to get over that.
It's your responsibility.
Your responsibility. Yeah. Like, nobody else can do it for you.
Right. The world's a fucking harsh place, and I've learned that. It's not fair or unfair. It's just life.
It's absolutely.
And you have to worry about you.
Absolutely.
Whatever that looks like, whether it's therapy, it's the gym, it's this, or it's that. Like, you just said something about your parents with the I love you, and it just hit me. Like, this is, I don't even know my wife knows this. She's going to know. When I was in the 7th grade, I got bullied so badly for the whole year. Right? The teacher even got up in front of the class without saying my name about how badly this class was treating me, right? Okay. Now, maybe I did some things to deserve it, maybe not, but the one thing that happened to me, my friend, Brian, I was doing homework at his house. I did have one friend who I thought was my friend. And we got this art project back and this thing we drew, and on the front, it said, turn over. And on the back, it said, no friends, Galati. And Buck, I felt betrayal at the work, like the highest magnitude of betrayal.
Yeah.
Because he wrote, turn over. He's like, I didn't write no friends Galati. I just wrote turn over, and it was like someone stabbed me in the fucking stomach. Yeah. And I say that because that experience, that 7th grade year, even though in high school these dudes were my brothers, and we snapped out of it, we became best of friends. Yeah. The lasting effects of that affect me as a 40-year-old man today.
Yeah, sure.
Today.
Sure.
And the only difference now is, and we kind of touched on it, it's like, what are you going to do with that?
Yeah.
I'm not going to let it crush me. It doesn't own me.
Right.
It happened to me. The visceral feelings are gone. But, if I am in a situation where I feel like people may be speaking negatively about me in any area of my life, it hits me a little bit. That's what it is. It's a trigger.
It's a trigger.
It's a trigger.
For sure.
So this dude, like, that's, I didn't even think of that. Even now, just like, so in wrapping this thing up, I just want to ask you a couple questions.
Sure.
First of all, I thank you and I appreciate you doing this.
Thanks for having me.
Being vulnerable was huge, and I kind of touched on it before. I read this book in treatment called Daring Greatly, and the person that wrote the book only worked with women and their vulnerability until a man stopped her at one of her speaking engagements and said, how come you don't work with men? And she's like, I just identify with women, and it's been my career.
Yeah.
And he points at his wife and daughters who are across the room, and he says, because you see them, they'd rather see me die on my white horse than fall down and ask for help. So like vulnerability is fucking huge, man. You know, people judge, they talk negatively about you, and that's just life. And it's like, you know, being vulnerable, being okay with it and recognizing it is kind of like what I wanted to learn from you, and I think we're able to teach each other a little bit about our own experiences. But
one of the things I've learned is everyone's just doing the best they can do.
That's it.
And and no one's perfect. No one's better than anybody else. There's no my parent was better than your parent.
Yeah.
Like there's none of that. Everyone's just doing the best they can do, and that includes us. You know, and we're just as you get older. As for me, as I've matured and gotten older, I realize that like there's nobody perfect, and no one's better than me. No one's worse than me. You know, we're all in this kind of together, and the conversation we're having is just part of my journey in life. You know, and we're just trying to, you know,
work hard, be a good person.
Work hard, be a good person, be kind.
That's the umbrella of life.
Hell yeah, yeah, be a good person, man.
That's what I tell my daughter all the time.
Yeah,
nothing else matters. If you do that, like no one's gonna be perfect, but striving for perfection.
Absolutely, respect people.
Yeah.
Just. Try not to judge so much.
Don't be a dick.
Don't be a dick. You know, don't be a hater. Right. You know. I mean, we're not perfect.
No. It's a daily fucking process. But
I want to say before as we're wrapping it up, I want to congratulate you for doing this seriously, and like, thank you for having me here for one thing. But I've told you how impressed I am with you doing this, and you gave me the courage kind of to do this when you and your sister are opening up about things, and you and your wife were talking about things. Like it has given me the courage to kind of like I want to do that. You know,
because people they don't know what's going on when you're by yourself, and you're alone, and you know things aren't going well for that day. You know, you come into the gym, you crush a workout, you talk to people, you're nice, you help, you coach, but like you have life issues just like everybody else. So you know, and people don't always recognize or understand that, myself included. You know, I'm not always understanding what's going on with the guy that's next to me at work, or the girl at the gym that's struggling, or my daughter. Like you don't know.
Right.
So when you don't know, you kind of got to take a step back and think, well, maybe there's a reason why the reaction was what it was, and you know, so So I appreciate,
especially like in our fitness world. Yeah. You know, a lot of us are obsessed.
Fucking nuts.
And there's a reason for that.
Yeah.
And who knows what that reason is? You know,
want to look good naked.
Yeah, there you go. Right. But it's not always. Where I just want to be healthy. It's positive. You know, there's sometimes you're working through shit.
There's a sickness involved.
There's a sickness involved. I can't miss the gym. Oh my God, look in the mirror. You know, I'm gaining 2 pounds or whatever. You know, so there's we all struggle.
Yeah,
we all struggle.
Even today, I'm like, man, you could have just finished that row, you pussy.
Well, I was thinking that too when you were rowing. But
thank you.
No problem.
So I'm curious. After this conversation and knowing you as well as I do up to this point, if there was one thing about you that you could say now that you would change for the better, for the worse, something that you don't like about yourself, one thing about you that you would change, what would that be?
I wish, now, there's no answer to this one, I don't think, but I wish I had better self-esteem growing up. I wish I would have had more confidence in myself to take risks, to take chances. There were some things that I wanted to do when I was 20 years old, like for my future and things like that I was afraid to do. You know, I wish I wasn't. I wish I would had more confidence and more self-esteem, and I didn't realize that that comes from doing hard things. It comes from doing things that are
hard things now. So
and like accomplishing things instead of your fear sometimes stops you from doing things, and you feel worse. Yeah. You know, so like. If you would just do those things and not worry about, am I doing it correctly? Am I not doing it correctly? You know, like just live your life, do your best.
You know, you were touching on self-esteem and fear of being alone, and then it just kind of reminded me of what you were talking about earlier about ending your second engagement and the real trauma set in during that time. But you didn't say like what that looked like. You know, your whole demeanor changed when you said that. We kind of just like, not that we glossed over, we just started talking about something different. But like, what did that look like? You had your first marriage and you fell in love again, and that kind of didn't work out. And
like first off, I don't want to. I'm not trying to. I don't want to blame anybody. You know I don't want to blame my ex-wife. I don't blame my ex-fiance.
Everyone has a version.
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
like,
of course,
you know what
of
I mean?
course.
This is
Of
your
course.
life. This is
Yeah,
your version. So
yeah.
like, that's fair.
Yeah. So after my divorce, I think I was kind of a little bit in denial of like what really was happening, and I always kind of thought that we would get back together. My family would get back together. I was wrong on that because she married somebody else, obviously. But I still had my daughters. My parents were around all the time. I was still working full time, you know. So even though it was traumatic, the divorce, it didn't destroy me.
But you know, even how like that's so understated. Like going to work every day, coaching, being a dad, when you're fucking dying inside.
Yeah.
You know, I like it's so easy to just gloss over that. Because I know that feeling.
Well, let me tell you, at my worst, I said to my mother one day, I said, I don't know how I'm going to go on. Yeah, at my worst. And she said, I'll tell you how you're going to go on. You're going to get up in the morning. You're going to get breakfast. You're going to go to work. You're going to take care of your daughters. You're going to live your life. You have tons of friends. That's how you're going to go on. Like everybody else. You're going to get through the day. And every day you get through, it gets easier and easier and easier, which is kind of the truth.
My dad was the same way. Like he would never, ever say the words like "be a man."
Yeah.
He would never say that to me.
Yeah.
He would like totally empathize with me, kind of like help me, guide me. You know what I mean? So like it's kind of it sounds like it's what
yeah. My friends and my parents were kind of like, dude, we love you. We don't care if you're with somebody else or not. You know, like, and that was very helpful to me as well, knowing that people had my back as lifelong friends. Yeah. They weren't taking sides or anything, but they just cared about me. Right. So, which brings me to my engagement with the other second girl. When that fell apart, that's when the trauma really hit me, and that's when I mean, I'm not going to lie. You know, I had some bad thoughts, and I couldn't act on those bad thoughts because I would never do that to my daughters. Like I did not want to do anything harmful to myself. My daughters would have to live with that, so I couldn't do it. But I will tell you, I was a mess, and thankfully, I had great friends. And some of the things that my friends did for me was that they were sometimes they would show up at my house 5 o'clock in the morning because I was having the worst parts of the day for me were in the morning when I woke up, and at night. Yeah. And in the morning, I would wake up and it was silent in my house, and it just was a reminder, it was a trigger that I was alone, and this is what happened, you know. And I had friends who said, "You're not going to wake up alone. We will be there when you wake up." That's amazing. So I had about 5 different friends, lifelong friends, who they took days, and they would show up at my house at 5 o'clock in the morning. I would wake up, and they'd be sitting there having breakfast at my house. Yeah. So that was a lifesaver for me.
That's your support group.
100%. Yeah. My parents are my support group too, but my friends. But it was so traumatic that I lost myself. Like, I thought that I was only valuable if I had a partner, if I had a spouse, if I had a girlfriend, if I had a wife or whatever. And when I didn't have that, I felt like I was nothing.
You know, like we have 2 totally different backgrounds with the feelings of depression and anxiety and all that stuff. And my sister just touched on this too. She said she wasn't even a person before she got sober. And like I could totally identify that. Like you lost your soul.
Oh, absolutely.
And whether it's through drugs or a horrible breakup, like that's like why I love doing this so much, because we feel the exact same way for different reasons, and like, you know, then you have to somehow get out of that. Yeah. How do you get out of that? Like, you don't have a rehab to go to for drugs and alcohol. Come here, Frank.
I had my divorce support groups,
right?
Which I didn't. I wasn't invested into those things. I think those things are extremely beneficial. You know, grief support groups, divorce support groups, those kind of things. Your AA groups, whatever, are extremely, extremely important and valuable. But if you're not buying in,
you get out of what you put into it.
Exactly. If you're going to AA and you're going drinking every Friday night, you're kind of defeating the purpose.
And I've done that.
Right. Well, I went to divorce support group and looked to date every girl in the group. So it wasn't going to work, that kind of thing. But I had some of my friends would do things like we paint houses every summertime.
Yeah, that's right.
Teacher friends, and I stopped painting during that time because I didn't really need the money a whole lot or whatever. I just didn't feel like doing it. So when this whole thing went down, I was so broken. I called my painting buddies and said, "Do we have any jobs?" And they said no. And I said, "Well, if I get us some jobs, will you guys paint with me?" I just needed something to do. I needed to be around people that cared about me. People that made me feel good, people that were funny, people that joked around, kind of took me out of that dark place. And I'm not going to lie, when I was with them painting houses and stuff, they put me in a back room and left me alone because they didn't want to deal with me. Because all I wanted to do was talk about, I didn't want to complain.
Not that I'm making fun, but just bitch and complain.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, after a while, you my own buddies.
Yeah.
Like, dude, just shut the fuck up.
I can laugh about all this stuff now because it was about 10 years ago, you know. But at the time, I mean, you're thinking about committing suicide, for crying out loud.
But I was sitting at my desk before rehab, and not that I ever really seriously thought about committing suicide, but the thought entered my mind, like, I just don't want to feel like this, and I'll do anything.
Exactly.
I'll do anything to not feel like this.
Yes.
So I get it.
And I'm going to tell you, like, my thoughts on the whole suicide thing. Like, so many people will say, oh, they took the easy way out. Oh, they're a coward for doing that. And I got to tell you, man, like, when you get to that point of thinking about it, it's not about being a coward. It's not about taking the easy way. You just want to stop the pain. Yeah. And you want it to stop. And if you're someone like me, and maybe like you too, we want things done now. So we want that pain to go away now.
Yeah, you want to wake up and feel better.
You want to wake up and feel better, and it takes time.
I know.
You know? And looking back on it now, it was all extremely valuable experience. I don't think I would change anything. Honestly,
I agree with that.
Like,
I agree with that.
Honest to God, I think that all the things that I went through have led me to this point.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty darn happy with who I am at this point. Mm-hmm. But it's taken a long, long time to get there, you know. And I still have days where dark days, you know,
sure.
or you're not happy with yourself or whatever. Mm-hmm. But the more you're out there and around people, you talk to people and stuff, you realize that lots of people have those same issues, those same thoughts. Yeah. Not happy with their bodies, not happy with their looks, not happy in their relationships, whatever. You know, people have issues, you know, and all you can do is try to get better and better every single day and just be kind and generous, and hopefully it comes back to you and that kind of stuff.
So let me ask you this. You got through the pain and suffering that you felt from the first marriage.
Yeah.
And you got through it again with the second relationship. Yeah. And what do you do today, or what can you do today to get through some of the things you're dealing with currently? Because I know sometimes things get rough, and we talk about fear of being alone and stuff like that. And like, I think incredibly highly of you, but is there anything you can remember that you did back then that you could do if a situation came up in today to help you get through some of those things?
I don't think. I think I'm a much stronger person mentally now. I think I'm much happier with who I am. I think I realize that if I don't ever have a romantic partner or a spouse or whatever, I'm still going to be okay. Mm-hmm. Like, my life does depend on that now. You know, I have so much more. But back then, like, I just thought that if I didn't have anybody, I was nothing. Yeah. You know, and I gotta tell you, friends are the key. Like, reaching out to people and talking about it and not hiding everything, you know. I mean, obviously, people get tired of hearing it sometimes. Obviously, you know, you don't want to, call somebody every single day and talk about how miserable.
But you probably have people in your life that you could do that to.
100%.
I know I do, and I needed that.
100%.
I needed that.
I had some great friends, lifelong friends, basically, who were, they would say things to me like, "We love you. We don't love like you and Kathy or you and Laura. It wasn't. We love you, and you are important. You." Like, whether you're in a relationship or not. So yeah, I had people like that I leaned on, and I know I drove them crazy. Yeah. I know I did. However, the positive of all that comes from, like, when I was getting better, I was thanking my friends for what they did. And they kept saying to me, "We don't want your thanks. We don't need your thanks. We love you." But a couple of guys who've been through stuff, they would say to me, "Your job now is just to help somebody else. Like, your job now is to pay it forward."
That's the motto of my recovery.
Yeah.
It really is. It's like, when you're in your own head and things are terrible, the first thing someone in recovery will try to help you to do is help somebody else. You can stop thinking about your selfish ass, you know what I mean? And like, sometimes that's hard to do. Yeah. It's like, we talked earlier, like, I didn't have a good day a couple days ago, and for no reason. Yeah. Nothing was going right. Yeah. I was stressed about work. I'm in the last week of my program at school, and miserable. So I made a couple calls, sent a couple texts out, and then we're here today. So it's like, sometimes you just gotta, like, weather the storm. I get that.
You do. And it's almost like you have to change your mindset a little bit. Like, You have to be grateful. You have to show gratitude. And one quick story. When I was teaching, and I would go to my classroom, and I would basically lock my door because the girl I was engaged to was 2 doors away from me. Mm-hmm. So I would sneak into my classroom basically in the morning, close my door, put papers in front of my windows so I didn't see anything, and she didn't know I was there, whatever. And I would sit at my desk sometimes in the morning before school, and I'd be half crying. No lie. I'd be sitting at my desk crying, like, my life sucks.
I know that feeling.
Yeah, my life sucks. How am I going to get through this? How did this happen to me? This wasn't supposed to. I'm not supposed to be depressed. I'm not supposed to have anxiety. I'm not supposed to be divorced. I'm supposed to be in a wonderful, loving, healthy relationship. So I would sit at my desk sometimes in the morning and cry. I had students come in, some of them, special ed students, they would come in and they would just say, "Good morning, Mr. Groves." And they made me smile.
Yeah. No
matter what. They had no idea what I was going through. They didn't care. But these kids would come in and I hear them come down the hall. I go, "Oh, geez, here they come."
Yeah.
Whatever, right? And then they walk in my room and they would just brighten up the whole room. And it kind of brought me out of like this dark place, at least for a few hours.
Momentarily, but like there's moments add up though.
There's moments add up. Yeah. Absolutely right. Yeah. And I mean, I remember vividly who they were. You know what I mean? And I'm friends with them on Facebook. Funny story. They're like 22, 23 years old now, whatever. But I'm friends with them on Facebook, and we still communicate. Yeah. They had no idea what they did.
But it's like your friends. They just cared about you.
Absolutely, exactly right. Yes. So trauma, like everybody has different kind of traumas in their life. You could, different things. But I remember going to a therapist after all this happened, and they would say to me, "Dude, you have PTSD." I go, how do I have post-traumatic stress? How do I have that? Like, there's no way I have that. I go, "Yes, you do. Like, you've been through some trauma that you didn't deal with, and now it's time to deal with it." So when I really got serious about doing the work, the therapist would say, you got to journal, you got to do your breathing, you have to reach out to friends, you have to stay active, get outside in the sunlight, those kind of things. So, whenever I feel myself going down that dark hole, I try my best to cut it off. I hop in the cold plunge. I go out for a walk. I buy a puppy.
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
That's huge.
I know. That's huge. Like, stuff like that. And, that's another whole thing, too. The whole animal aspect. It's the best therapist in the world. You kidding me? That's the best.
My wife would tell you the same thing. What Frankie did for my wife during the times where I wasn't being a good husband really helped her out.
Absolutely.
Really helped her out.
Absolutely. And it's just like when the kids in my classroom, I told you, when they walked in and they made me smile every day. Mm-hmm. Well, the puppy does the same thing. Yeah.
Because they love you no matter what.
They love you no matter what. It's unconditional love. Yeah. And when you're struggling, like going through stuff, that's what you need. Yeah. You don't need someone judging you. You don't need someone telling you what you need to do. You need someone that's just going to love you no matter what. And sometimes the most important words are, "I love you. Love you, dude." Yeah. That's the most important thing in the world. To hear that.
So we talked earlier a little bit, and you really couldn't give me a good answer.
Yeah.
But you said something about your self-esteem. If there was something you could change about yourself, it would be your self-esteem.
Yeah.
I'll ask you again.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So if there's one thing that you could change about yourself that comes to mind, what do you think it would be?
It's funny thinking about that. I don't know if I would change much of anything right at this point.
Yeah.
At this point, like I'm happy with who I am. I mean, obviously, we look in the mirror, we see certain stupid little outside things, whatever. Yeah. But and we might, we all have things that we're a little self-conscious about, truthfully. But I kind of like myself right now. I'm proud of I'm proud of that I'm still here.
I was going to ask you that too. Like, when you look in the mirror, are you proud of yourself?
Hell yeah.
It took me a long time to get to that point.
Well, another thing that I do, like this may sound strange, but little stupid things. Like I brush my teeth with my right hand normally, right?
Okay.
So in the mornings, and I read this in a book somewhere, and I'm telling you it worked. I brush my teeth now with my left hand.
No shit.
It just like changes your brain up. And I look in the mirror, this is embarrassing, but I look in the mirror and I say, "I love you," 10 times.
I love it.
Swear to God. I look in the mirror as I'm brushing my teeth and I say, "I love you," 10 times. Mm. And just that, the other thing too, getting out of bed in the morning. As soon as I get the covers off, I say it out loud. It's going to be a good day. And there's just something about like hearing your voice hearing you say those kind of things. Now, it doesn't change the world.
Yeah, it doesn't always work.
No, but right. But it makes you're doing the work that you have to do to feel better about yourself.
I couldn't agree more. I do the same thing. It took me a couple weeks after treatment to develop this like discipline for my recovery, but I do the same things every morning. I wake up, I grab my dog, I pray.
Yeah, okay.
I get ready for work, I go to work, and I get in pretty early so I can do my schoolwork, but I read a couple things about my recovery, respond to a couple text messages, do my schoolwork, get through my work day. And then it's the gym, and I love talking to you at gym specifically.
Yeah, of course.
And then I do something for my recovery at night.
Yeah.
And then Megan and I, it's called, we kind of like take an inventory of the day. And it's like, we've actually haven't been doing that well at it lately, but we'll pick it back up. We just talk about what we did that was good today, our goals for tomorrow, if we owe anybody an apology, what we learned from today. And those like handfuls of things, like just make it a good day. Absolutely. Even talking to you right now, like I feel so much better because I just like, sometimes days are tough, man.
Hell yeah.
Sometimes days are tough.
Yeah.
It's just, I really appreciate you being here because, some of the things we talked about before and I knew about you, but, it's so easy, like I said before, for people to tell you how you're supposed to be feeling.
Yeah.
And if anything, people that do listen or do watch can understand you more of a person as a human being and not just Bucky, the coach from the gym.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because you're a great person and I see the way you interact with people at the gym and you help so many people. And, everything you were saying about your buddies and your family and how you communicate, it's just how I think about my recovery. The opposite of addiction is connection.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%.
It's the truth, man. Like you got to communicate.
Absolutely.
And
absolutely. And you got to lean on people that are your true friends.
Absolutely.
And even like making new friends and stuff. Just meeting people and getting to know their stories and stuff. It's really. It just makes you feel good. It's uplifting, and just giving little compliments here and there. Nothing crazy, but just little things.
Little things, and they add up.
They add
up to the big things.
I mean, we all like to hear good things about ourselves. So you can, when you tell somebody else something, you see their face light up. That also, there's a selfishness to that too. Like you're telling somebody something positive about them, and you see their reaction, and that also makes you feel good.
Yeah, absolutely.
So people don't. You're not doing anything only to give.
Right.
You receive as well.
Well, helping others almost could be a selfish act.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? That's okay.
Absolutely.
That's okay. We talked about so many good things that you do, and it kind of reminded me. I used to train this guy in Chestnut Hill, and the guy was amazing. And I was in a tough spot at the moment, and he told me his theory on life. And we touched on this yesterday, but we had some technical difficulties.
Yeah.
But he said life's a series of debits and credits.
Yeah.
And I still, this is like 10, 12 years ago. And, the goal in life is to accumulate more debits than credits, to do more good than bad, to help more than to take.
Yeah. Give more. Give more than you take.
It's like, and I try to live my life that way in the most sincerest way. Yeah. And, we fail daily. I fail daily. Yeah. You know what I mean? But I just try to go through life, obviously being better today than yesterday, and the same thing for tomorrow versus today, but just be available, be present, help people. And, that seems like to me that's how you operate. And, whether or not you think about it, that's how I view you.
Yeah, and I tell you what though, like it's a grind. You have to grind. You just got to do it. You got to get through it. Like there's good days and bad days. Life is a series of ups and downs. And what happens is when you have low self-esteem or you have depression, when you get a down day, sometimes you just go deeper and deeper and deeper, and you don't fight, you don't battle to get out of it. One of my best friends, his key word is battle. Mm-hmm. Like he'll say, I've had a lot of skin cancer removed and stuff like that. So whenever I'm going for a skin cancer cutout, he'll text me and say, battle. Like that's what he's just, and it's not even like he's some rough guy. He's just like, hey dude, battle through.
You gotta grind.
Just battle through. And it's the truth, because I want to share one thing with you.
Sure, absolutely.
So I was, 10 years ago, contemplating suicide. I'm not going to lie, I'm contemplating it. And a couple of months ago, I met my oldest daughter, Kirby, getting inducted to Pennsbury Softball Hall of Fame.
Which is crazy. That's awesome.
Right. And I'm sitting there, and she's giving this speech, and she was phenomenal during the speech. I was in tears.
My daughter.
Well, and not only that, but I was just like, I even told my mother, I said, thank God I'm here to watch this.
Yeah.
Because I can't imagine her up there giving this speech and looking over at the table and Dad not being there because Dad's dead. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I actually was like just standing there listening to her give that speech, and I was in tears. And like, you know, everyone thought I was just in tears because I was proud, you know. But I mean, that's part of it, of course. But I was just so thankful that I was here to witness this.
It's amazing, man.
Because and you know, like my daughter getting married, my other daughter getting engaged, you know, like if I wasn't here, how different it would be for them, you know, and how much I would have missed out on. So I'm very thankful for the friends in my life who helped me through an extremely rough time.
I'm thankful.
For an extremely rough time, you know, to get through it. And like I said, there's still days, you know, there's still days. But I'm not nowhere near, I don't ever get that bad anymore.
It's like we said with recovery, it's a daily grind.
Yeah, but you have the tools now. You know that you have the tools that you know when you're feeling vulnerable, you know what to do.
To get through it.
That's
the biggest thing that I've learned this time is, you know, there's been a handful of dark days in treatment that I've been able to get through. And my therapist says it's money in the bank. He's like, you take what you learned during that experience, and now you know when you have to deal with it again, how to get through it.
We also always think that everybody else is perfect. And we're a mess. You know, and then something shocks you, like, you know, someone commits suicide, and you go, I never would have expected that. Like I would venture to say that my high school, college buddies that I've had would be shocked to know that I ever had these thoughts or these dark moments even. I mean, my close friends, of course, know, but like all my acquaintances would have no idea. Yeah. They think you got a great life.
You got the world by the ball.
Yeah, you got the world by the ball. Everything's wonderful, you know. Yeah. And then you go home to you sit by yourself, you know. So it's not always roses, you know what I mean? But nobody has this picture perfect. Perfect world. No. And if they do, they're just a matter of time.
Bullshit.
Well, because I mean, listen, we're all going to get older. Like that was an eye opener for me watching my father.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Watching a strong guy, outgoing guy, fade away. I mean, same for you.
Yeah, bro.
I mean, it's hard to watch.
You were just talking about being there for your daughter's speech, and I immediately thought about my dad not being here for any of this journey that I'm on now.
Yeah.
It is horrible. It's his birthday today.
Oh,
7 years old today.
Wow.
We're going to go to dinner tonight.
Yeah.
You know, but
well, there you go. That explains a little bit of a darkness, a little bit of a down day for you. But think about, like, you're going out for dinner with family, and you're all, you know, there supporting each other through this rough day.
And the best thing about this is that I'm sober. Yeah. Because if I wasn't, I'd be hiding the fact that I wasn't. Yeah. I'd suck the life out of the fucking room. Yeah. And the experience for everyone would be less than what it should be because I'm not all in.
So you'd have some turmoil going on inside.
So and then you know what I would.
And you're trying to hide it. Yeah. Yep. So when you're trying to hide things, you can't feel good about yourself.
No, because you're a fraud.
You're a fraud, exactly right. And Megan, you know it. And you know it.
Megan, one time we got into a fight, and she called me a fraud. She's like, "You're a fucking fraud," and I was so mad because she was right. She was right.
Well, no, you're not a fraud. You're Anthony No Friends Galati.
That's brutal. What a dickhead. That's so bad. So check this out. Agree or disagree? Right? When with this? Agree or disagree?
Okay.
The definition of hell.
Okay.
The last day on earth, your last day on earth, the person you are meets the person you could have been. That's my definition of hell. It's from Fight Club. We used to go to our old gym. That is fucking hell. The person I was before treatment, if I were to be that person on my last day on earth, to meet this guy, that would be hell.
So regrets. Exactly. Your deathbed, having regrets, and you know, wow.
You agree?
I agree.
It's fucking brutal.
I would agree with that. Yes.
You know, and you don't feel that way.
Well, no. I mean, you do the best you can.
That's it.
And you live your life the best you can. But you have to realize there's going to come an end. Yeah. And we always put things like, for me, I always used to say, I'll do it later, someday. Well, I'm at the age where someday better be soon. You know what I mean? Like and I realize that. Like it's really funny. I had friends tell me, you hit 50, you're going to realize. I didn't. 55, I didn't. Now that I'm turning 60 in June, I'm like, holy crap.
Yeah.
You know, I'm like 60 years old, you know, like, holy crap.
Well, you're 60, but you're in the best shape out of all the 60-year-olds.
That doesn't matter,
No,
man.
I know.
You're right.
Silver lining. Silver
Yeah,
lining.
I get it.
Silver lining.
No, I mean, I'm proud of that fact. I work hard at it.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, maybe there's a reason for that too. Who the hell knows, you know?
Yeah.
Sometimes it's a good reason. Sometimes it's not good reasons.
Well,
but
you just finished the 100,000 meter skate. So. But, you know, like, I got to be honest, like, you know, you've been through a lot, man. You've been through a lot, you know, and that's
we all
life.
have.
Right,
Yeah,
and that's
yeah,
life.
yeah.
And, like,
Yeah.
I told you earlier, like, I will never, ever say life is unfair. It's just life.
Yeah, it's just life, yeah.
You know, I really appreciate you sharing what you went through in your life.
Thanks,
In your life. And I think not only me, but obviously your daughters, your family, I'm sure they would be really proud that you stuck around for them.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
You're a great guy.
Thank you.
Great guy. I'm glad you did this. And any final thoughts?
No, listen, I'm proud of you for doing this. And I told you that day one, like, this is an amazing thing that you're doing. And, you know, hopefully it helps people.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if it's helping you, this has helped me. That's for darn sure. So, I mean, you know, it's hopefully people can look at it and just maybe look at us and say, oh, now I know a little bit more of their story, you know, whether they agree with it or not, or they like it or not, but, you know.
For me, it goes back to the umbrella. The opposite of addiction is connection. And addicted to drugs or dealing with depression and anxiety, like the connection of life, you know, as corny as it may sound to some people, is the answer.
Yeah.
And what does that look like for you? And you figured that out, and I'm figuring it out. And you know what?
Hey, I just want to, before we end, it's life's a journey, man. And, you know, we're all, it's ups and downs every day. We do the best we can. And you can't beat yourself up over it. Like, we all have different body shapes. We all look differently. We all talk differently. We all have different families, different education, but we're all human, and we just do the best we can do, you know?
Yeah.
One of my therapists, his favorite line is, there's two types of people in this world. People that are working on their shit and people that are just living in their shit. And his whole thing is like, you know, everybody has issues. Everybody could benefit from talking to people and working on their issues. But you have to slow down and take time to kind of recognize you have those issues. And one of the nice things for me that you don't have really, you work a full-time job, you know, you get a career a whole bit, you know. I've done all that. So like I now have time, in a sense, to work on me, you know, physically, mentally, emotionally. Mm-hmm. So it's pretty stupid of me not to do that. That if I have the time to do it, so I should be doing it, you know. Right.
Well, like, and one more thing, like, I know before treatment, the range of my emotions were so drastic. Yeah. You know, and now the range has shrunk a little bit. So the highs and lows are not as high, not as low.
Absolutely.
That's one of the things I can appreciate big time with sobriety. It's like, you know, I'm able to handle things and process things a little differently. And I think you can relate, because when you're down and out and you're depressed and you're feeling all this anxious feelings, that like the range is so dramatic and like you want to just get out of that range. You want to just shrink it a little bit. Just imagine it's a little different.
Yeah.
Like, I think we share that in common. So.
Yeah, for sure, man.
I love you, bro.
Love you too.
Good stuff. Thank you.
I guess I want to end it this way.
Love you, bro.
Yeah.
We love you, Dad.
I love all of you.
We love you, daughter.
I love you too.
Wow, that was nice.
And I tell you what, let's go!